Logistics. Mac lives in Shanghai, and his role is primary sales and business development of US-based multinationals in China. He has been in China for 6 years and also teaches MBA courses at Tongji University. Mac.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. No, wait, sorry, it's afternoon. So it's in Shanghai, it's about 8:45 a.m. So, thank you very much, guys. Some of that was a little bit over my head. So I wanted to ask you guys, who here is a shipper? Raise your hand. Okay. Who here is a forwarder? Okay. Who here is another? All right. So, who, at the beginning, Dan was asking, who has been to China? I think that the crowd might have changed a little bit. So if I say, Xingnian Kuai Le, how many of you know what that means? Okay, it means Happy Chinese New Year, right? So over here, I made my own map. These guys can't really see it, but you can see a lot of different terms. So when you say China, like we heard many times, China is big. It is different. So I want to tell you a little bit about Shanghai. I was brought up in the logistics community of Shanghai, so I'm going to narrow the scope a little bit. Even within Shanghai, we're talking complexity. We're talking about transparency issues. So let's look up here, right? I mean, let's take one. Let's say CCC. How many of you know what that means? One person? Woo! Right? We can send this back to our people in Shanghai and they'll be like, well, really? All right, let's try Waigaocha. All right. How many of you have the app on your phone, WeChat? All right, you're getting there, right? So this goes back to communication. How do Chinese people communicate with each other? WeChat. I mean, write it down. It's a solution to help you do business. That's how they're talking to each other. So, like Greg said, I work in Shanghai in business development. Basically, that's coming up with solutions for our American customers. So I've learned in Shanghai, working with Chinese for a Japanese company. Yeah, that's kind of fun, right? All right, China's maze. So we're talking about regulatory issues that companies worry about. Anybody? One issue. Customs? Transparency? What is a free trade zone in China? Right? Go back one. What is an EPZ? What is an IFTZ? It's really difficult. So I've spent a lot of time trying to learn it. So actually in this PPT, I don't have all the explanations, but online you do have a few slides about what those different things are and how they're different. So use it. So what I did is, when I prepared for this event, is I went to many different places. So Dan and I are members of the American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai. Great resource. I was in Atlanta on Tuesday. I went to the commerce services, right? And also in Shanghai, I talked to the Foreign Commercial Services, export.gov. You're paying for these guys. They're there to help. Gold Key. Type in Gold Key China for $700. These guys will line up meetings for you. $700. If you go to PwC, we're talking 20,000 or something, right? So let's move on. What I learned when I was researching this. Let's check this out. Customs revenue went up 5%. Now, 5% should be good. If you look at 2 years ago, customs revenue was going up 29%. So that means what? China customs guys, they're losing, well, not losing money, but they're not making as much money as they should, right? Next. Right now, we have our shippers going to Yantian, Shanghai, Hong Kong, many different ports in China. I had an interesting conversation with 3 ladies from Tianjin last night. Chinese people kind of come together, we're kind of drawn to each other. I listen for Chinese and I kind of feel like home. I've been there for 6 years. This is probably the most interesting fact. You guys can't see this, so this is what it says. In China Trade Management Survey, 53% of the respondents indicate supply chain people are primarily responsible for trade management. So you and I talked about this before. Supply chain people in charge of trade management. The supply chain people I know are putting out fires. In Shanghai, it's where's my cargo? It's how are we getting this specific shipment to there? This is those guys trying to deal with issues like tariffs. You need to have dedicated people for those kind of issues. Do not expect your supply chain people to handle those kind of things. It's too big. Sorry, my mouth's a little dry. Let's move on. China is considered the 5th riskiest place in the world to do business. Would you agree? No, right? If you're talking about Shanghai or Hong Kong, which is China, right? It's not. It's not in the top 50 probably, right? If you're talking about Chengdu, Chongqing, you're getting closer. If you're talking about Urumqi, you're getting there. If you're talking about Henan, maybe number 1. I mean, it's basically like going to West Africa. It's pretty tough. Even today, in China, I talk to experts all the time. Nobody knows exactly what the pilot free trade zone is. What are the benefits? I'm like, we've been in Wagaoqiao for 10 years. Isn't that a free trade zone? So I guess it will come. So this is my company, NNR. We just opened our 28th office in China, and it's a big focus for us. We were very bullish, as Robert said in the last presentation. We think China is a strong growth. You'll hear this a lot. Shanghai as the international hub by 2020. So you'll see some of those automations come. I mean, China has plans, and each year they roll out a different part of that plan. The pilot free trade zone, you'll start to see more regulations. They're going to control what information they give you, but they're going to start giving it to you. So look, I don't know if you can see it very clearly. The top one is what we call Lujiazui, Pudong, in 1990. That's it today. One of the most recognizable skylines in the world has been developed in the last 20 years. So what does this mean, this sudden change? What does it mean? A lot of potential for growth, right? With change comes opportunities. I had one client telling me a week ago, my customers in China, they want too much. They want too much for their service. And this is a premium manufacturer. And I said, it could be worse. Has anybody heard of the Lamborghini case? Does anybody know what the 3R policy in China is? 3R? So, just imagine, for you that make products, you open up the magazine and you see this. Can everybody see that? So in 2011, this gentleman gets in his brand new $700,000 Lamborghini. Doesn't work. Calls up the dealership, says, what's wrong with my car? They get it to the dealership. Oh, I guess it needs this part and this part and this part. Okay, gets on the phone, brings it in, and it sits in customs for months and months and months. So he says, I'm gonna make a point. Takes that to Qingdao, and they literally sit there with every news agency in China and beat it up. After that, China came out with the 3R regulations. If you can't service my product, I think it's 30 days. We'll have to figure that out. But you will have to replace it, refund it, or repair it at the dealer's cost. So that's making it a lot of different companies trying to optimize that supply chain. So, expansion with balance. As you're moving west, do your homework. Have strong partners. Have that guanxi. Everybody, say it with me. Guanxi.
Guanxi.
Guanxi. It is now in the Webster's dictionary. It is a word. It means relationship. So, I was in my MBA class when the professor says, think like a designer. So we heard some different solutions. So this is my magic device that's going to come out in 2020. It's a scanning machine that will look at your cargo. It will analyze the DIMS. It will analyze the bill of material. It will look at if there's any defects. It will then upload to a cloud, or that cloud will then link with MERS database, possibly. It will check whether it needs a CCC license. It will check whether you need an export license. It will check what your suppliers, what your consignee needs. So, what is the problem with China? It's either A, us on this side, the human factor of us not filling out all the paperwork or doing our homework, or it's on their side where they're just, what? No, sorry, we don't want to import your solar panels today. The solution, sadly, is taking us out of the equation. So, I think we will see in the next 5-10 years some significant advancements in automation. They will try to get that transparency much better. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that entertaining presentation, Matt.